Man, these realistic driving games are so boring. Where are the boost pads and the power-ups? Where are the wacky characters with equally extravagant cards to match their personality? You know what? Screw this. Let's play something fun instead. There should be something nice to play here in my collection. Oh, ho, ho. That's it. Hello dear patients, your favorite doctor here, Dr. Plague, and today we're taking a look at the murky and forbidden world of hidden and forgotten licensed card games. Oh yeah, we're going in big time. Forget your Marios, Crashes and Sonics. These games feature characters that people actually know and recognize, so prepare your best memorabilia and nostalgia, because it's time to roll. Alright, some of you might not know about this very niche and specific topic, but back in the day, car racers featuring licensed characters and franchises were very common. Now that I think about it, licensed games are not very common nowadays, even though it seems like every existing movie back then had a video game adaptation. I miss those days. We got some truly wonderful gems that I'll be talking about in the future. However, car racers were another breed. Of course, you had car racers featuring characters from games like Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Banjo-Kazooie, among other crossovers, but if a franchise was too recognizable, impossible to adapt in other genre, or just because of the deranged imagination of developers, licensed properties would get a car racing game. Today, we're going to take a look at 3 of these time-forgotten relics and answer the question: were these good ideas or just terrible cash grabs that don't justify their existence? Let's find out. The first game that we have in store for today is Nicktoons Racing. Released in the year 2004, the Game Boy Color? Wait, something's not right here. According to my arcane research, this game was originally developed and released for the Game Boy Color, and then released in subsequent years for the PS1, PC, and Game Boy Advance. Now that's weird. I always thought the original version was the PS1 and then ported to both GBC and GBA. I wonder how all these 3 versions differ. That would be an interesting topic to cover. Anyway, for this video, we're taking a look at the PS1 version, which was developed by Software Creations and published by the almighty Infogrames Interactive. I have quite good memories of this game, even I do recall not being able to finish the game, so let's go ahead and see what this game has to offer. When you start, you get a cutscene of the racers getting ready to participate in the Cups. This event was apparently created by a mystery racer who runs in a black cart. After the cutscene, you can see the menu and the different modes like Cups, Time Trial, Race for Fun, and Relay. I'm going straight for the Cups and picking Ikis from Real Monsters as my racer because why not? The game has representation from a number of Nickelodeon franchises like Rugrats, SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Ren and Stimpy, and Cat Dog. Oh, and that other stupid cartoon about a girl who talks with animals that nobody cares about. The game plays as any usual car racer. You have a button to accelerate, one to brake, and you use the triggers to jump and drift and use the items that you can pick up in the tracks, which are themed around the various cartoons such as Jellyfish, Stump, and a cat litter. There is also a power-up that teleports you to first place, but I only got it once in this playthrough. However, there is no turbo power-up, and that is because there are these little light orbs scattered around the tracks which you can pick up to activate a turbo boost, which I find very interesting and differentiates this game from the rest. As for the progression of the game, you have 3 cups that you have to beat in order to beat the story, with only 1 cup being available at the beginning and having to win every other cup to unlock the ending. But unfortunately, that's where my praise for the game ends. Once you start racing, the first thing you notice is that the controls are not very good. The drifting mechanic for one is completely useless. You're better off trying to manage the sharp turns by jumping or plain stopping the cart. Oh, and don't you ever dare crashing into anything because you can already call it quits. You're not winning that race. This game has this very annoying mechanic that if you crash into a wall or object face first, your character will immediately stand still and try to reverse, which can completely throw you off balance and cause the character to go apeshit. Well, Mr. Doctor, then just don't crash. you might say, and to that I say, have you ever even fucking played this game? On the first two cups it's relatively possible to handle around without any major issue, but the third cup has some very poorly designed tracks for the controls of this game. They could have been average tracks in any other game, but here you're constantly crashing into everything, which causes you to reverse and go crazy. Not to mention the sound design of the game. The tracks are fine, I guess, but if you ever get hit with Stomp or some other impact power-ups, the sound will fucking blow your ears off. So, what do you get after all that suffering? For beating the story mode, you get a cutscene where the mystery racer is revealed to be Plankton, who wanted to steal the Krabby Patty formula, and your character gets the trophy and some patties to ride into the sunset. You unlock the mystery racer as a playable character, but for what? To play the cups again in medium and hard difficulty? Yeah, as if anyone would ever want to touch this piece of filth ever again. Well, damn. That was not a very good first impression, but don't worry, we still have plenty of fun waiting for us in other places. When you think about a cartoon that is perfectly suitable for a racing game, what do you think about? Biker Mice from Mars? Rugrats? Duckman? Hell, God knows I'd kill for anything Duckman related, but I digress. What about South Park? The first iterations of South Park video games were a bit murky, and it's no secret that Trey Parker and Matt Stone hated these games so much that it took them quite some time to lend their iconic series for another video game. These first three video games were South Park, a first-person shooter for the PS1 and Nintendo 64 that was blasted for its poor quality, Chef's Love Shack, a minigame collection in the form of a contest show, and the one we're taking a look at today, South Park Rally, a car racing game, because what can be more suitable to a racing game than one of the crudest cartoons ever made? This game was released in the year 2000 for the PS1, Nintendo 64, PC and Dreamcast, and was developed by Tantalus Entertainment and published by Acclaim. This is a standard car racing game with a South Park skin in a matter of characters, tracks, and power-ups. However, the races have a different dynamic from other similar games, which we'll talk about a little bit later. One nice detail is that at the beginning of the game you get the warning screen that is shown at the beginning of the show and a 3D reimagining of the show's intro. You have three game modes: Championship, which serves as the story mode of the game, Arcade, which is the free race mode to play any type of race and tracks you have unlocked, and Multiplayer, which is pretty self-explanatory. Let's go ahead and get into the Championship mode. The story mode starts from the beginning of the year and goes through different holidays. You only have two normal checkpoint races in the story mode, so let's take a look instead at the other types of races. We have some races like the second one in the game and the one in Christmas, where you have to pick up an item, a trophy, or a present respectively, and then go through the checkpoints. We have other types of races like the third and the last one, where you have to hold on to an item for a set amount of time and keep it away from other racers. There are also some races where you have to collect items like candies on Halloween and chickens and drop them in a checkpoint. So naturally, the best strategy for this type of races is to stay at the checkpoint and wait for other racers to steal their property. Because of course, I forgot to mention that most of the time you can steal the collectibles of other players by crashing onto them. However, there are some where you can just steal things from other racers, like the Easter egg and Thanksgiving races, where you have to collect 20 eggs and 20 turkeys respectively. There's also the Valentine's Day race, in which you have to get both Cupid's bow and arrow and shoot the other racers to win the event. Or the Lemonade race, where you have to deliver lemonades to a random checkpoint and the first racer to deliver all four wins. But how does it play? And the answer is pretty good actually. The cars control surprisingly well. So much so that you don't even have a drift button in this game. Instead you use the brake in case you need to do a 180 turn. Even though I can say that controls when you jump off a ramp or elevated surface are quite floaty, which can be a problem in the item holding races, since if your car turns over, you will lose the special item and will be up for grabs for the other racers. One negative thing I can say is that the power-ups are very situational and not always useful. You have things that are reminiscent to various episodes of the series, like the killer frog from the Amazon, which turns the other racers' cars into stone, bats that can affect your movement, Terrence and Phillips farts for a speed boost, cheese poofs as a projectile, and a prostitute that gives you herpes if she touches you. Oh yes, this is definitely a South Park game. The game also has a lot of nods and references to different episodes, be it in the tracks and events, like the one where you have to pick up chickens to save them from the Rita Book ban, taken straight out from the episode where Officer Bar Brady learns to read to stop this chicken molester, or the gay cruise in the Big Gay L track, the Hell Pass Hospital in the Mountain track, etc. We also have a very nice variety of characters, from well-known characters like the four main kids, Chef and Mr. Garrison, to more obscure characters like Damien, Death, and Starving Marvin. However, the conditions to unlock some of these characters are insane, and some are even listed incorrectly in some websites. For example, in order to unlock Starving Marvin, you have to purposely lose the Thanksgiving event without picking up a single turkey, which of course goes against all common sense, and it's actually pretty hard because turkeys can spawn everywhere in the level and you might get one by poor chance. Despite some of its flaws, this is definitely an homage to the early seasons of the show, and I wholeheartedly recommend you to try this game if you're a fan of early South Park and wacky car racers. Okay, I guess we have time to play one more game, and believe me, I'm digging deep into the abyss of the PS1 catalog to find the most obscure kart racer imaginable. Oh, there it is. I look at this and I can't help wondering, who the fuck asked for this? I am talking about none other than Woody Woodpecker Racing. I swear this keeps getting more and more ridiculous with each passing game. This game was released in the year 2000 for the PS1, Game Boy Color and PC, and was developed by Cyrex Developments and published by Konami? I miss the times when Konami would raise their reputation with all kinds of different projects. A Dreamcast version was also in development, but it was ultimately unreleased. As you might have already figured out, this is a racing game starring characters from the Woody Woodpecker show like Woody Woodpecker himself, Chili Willy, and Wally Walrus. Once again, I have vague memories of playing this game back when I was only a wee little doctor and enjoying it, so that's never a good sign. Let's go ahead and see what this game has for us. Also, the footage I have recorded for the Woody Woodpecker racing game is fucked up for some reason I don't understand. Well, I guess that talks a lot about the quality of the game overall. We start the game and the menu greets us with the most abominable piece of music I've ever heard in a racing game. You have single and multiplayer modes, but I can select multiplayer. I guess because I only have one controller plugged into my very real and completely legal PS1. For the single player modes you have Quest, which is the story mode of the game, World Championship, which is a tournament style mode, Time Trial, which as in all racing games suck ass, and finally Single Race. Let's get into Quest mode, given that it's the only mode where you can unlock new tracks and characters. There is a tiny particular detail in this game, with this being a Woody Woodpecker game and all. You'd expect some wacky over-the-top tracks, right? Well, think again, moron. This game's tracks are themed around different countries and cities like Brazil, Scotland, Las Vegas, etc. You also get different types of cars depending on the track. You have racing cars, 4x4 monster trucks, stock cars, and jalopy. In the tracks, you can find speed booster spirals, blue orbs that put you to sleep, and, of course, item boxes. And the items in this game are very fucking weird. You have birds that you shoot towards other racers, thumbtacks you leave behind on the floor, a fish, because of course, a tomato that makes the other racers fall asleep, and a clock that slows down the other racers. Additional to the power-ups, you also have a basic attack that you activate using the triggers depending on the side that you want to use the attack. And all these attacks have the same effect, but the animations are different depending on the character. For example, Buzz Buzzard uses a hammer, Wally Walrus uses a monkey wrench, Chili Willy uses a frozen fish, etc. It's a mechanic that really sets this game apart from other racers, but to be honest, it can be a bit frustrating, given that it doesn't work for you half of the time, but it always hits the spot when used by an enemy racer. Naturally, as in any racing game, you must win first place in every race in Quest mode in order to progress. However, there is another mechanic that spices things up a little bit, and that is the hot dog counter. These hot dogs are your health points, so to speak. and you lose one every time you get hit by either a power-up or another racer's special attack. You find more hot dogs scattered around the tracks, but once you lose all your hot dogs, you get automatically disqualified from the race. This could have added a nice strategic point to the game, but hot dogs are so plentiful in all tracks that you will hardly see someone getting disqualified, and you will only run out of hot dogs if you have a very bad RNG with enemy aggressiveness. In quest mode, you also have boss races with beloved characters like Miss Minnie and Space Mouse. After you beat all the races, the final challenge is a single race against all the bosses, and just like that, the game is over. In regards to technical aspects, the game looks kinda nice with lots of colors and good character models. The controls are responsive enough, as you have all the normal actions like accelerating, using items and special attacks, braking, jumping and drifting. However, I could not for the life of me figure out how to reverse. In my last race, I crashed headfirst into a dead end, and after trying to reverse for a while, I had to restart the race because I had wasted too much time. But the most detrimental aspect of the game is its overall lack of speed. You truly don't feel like you're in a highly competitive and wacky race. Instead, it feels like a slug where you feel as if you're driving through mud all the time. This game could have been so much more, but technical aspects, lack of variety, and wasted potential hold this one down hard. It's not as bad as Nicktoons Racing, but it's certainly a very janky experience. Well, that's all I can take for today. You'd think that by having such big names associated to them, these games would have tried their best to live up to the standards of the licenses, but out of the 3 games that we checked out today, I could only recommend South Park Rally, and even that recommendation should be taken with a grain of salt if you're not a big fan of car racers. Anyway, this has been all for today, my patients, and I know there are a lot more car racers based on big licenses, so if you want to see me do a part 2 of this topic, let me know in the comments below. And also don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you like this type of content. It truly helps a starving artist like me. And remember, one game a day keeps the plague doctor away. See ya!